What is a behaviorally anchored rating scale, or in other words, BARS? Hey friends, Josh here, founder of HR University, and in this video we'll be covering BARS, where and how it's used, how to develop it, and more importantly, if you should use it at all. But before we get into it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the HR University channel for regular updates. Now let's go ahead and dive in. So BARS, or behaviorally anchored rating scale, is a measure of performance based on a number scale like 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. It's used to rate the performance of employees, and it serves as an appraisal mechanism that seeks to combine the benefits of narratives, critical incidents, and quantified ratings by anchoring a quantified scale with specific narratives of performance ranging from good, satisfactory, and poor performance. And essentially, BARS is a system for assessment used by the employer or the HR professional at the company. Even if you're a manager, you may still be asked to develop a BARS system. Now, to build the BARS assessment, you must understand each role in the working environment and the duties that come with the roles. There should also be an understanding of all the relevant behaviors that employees demonstrate when doing their tasks, which is important because this is going to take some research on your part to really dive in to what their day-to-day looks like. Finally, these employee behaviors are assessed and graded according to a rating system. Let's now move to real-life examples of the technique, which should give you a better picture of the whole process of rating your employees. And to do that, I have prepared a few examples for some of the most widely spread industries. First, let's look at something a bit specific: the junior software engineer position. An assessment scale for this role would go something like this. Let's say that level 1 is when the employee knows the basics of Java, but can't do much without further guidance. And level 3 would be that this junior software engineer has a working knowledge of Java and can work on projects with supervision. And at level 5, the employee can start and finish a required Java project on their own. We can also apply the same logic for a customer service employee. And here, level 1 would mean that the employee takes a while to pick up the call and is not very friendly while talking with customers. However, an employee who is at level 5 will answer the call after 1 ring and greet the customer accordingly and provide the required service. In this same way, we could create different scales that can be applied to various fields, from hospital nurses to waiters to fire responders and others. Now, if you're wondering if you should use BARS, when and why, you're thinking in the right direction. And the answer to the first question, whether you should use BARS, doesn't have a definite answer. Once you start ticking the boxes, you'll be able to know if you need BARS to assist you and your management team. Now, just to help you with a better visual representation of what this may look like, here's an example of BARS for nurses, which we had mentioned just a little earlier. Feel free to pause the video and take a look at the ratings and the descriptions. Now, to answer your question as to when BARS can be used, in reality, this tool cannot be used alone. If you're thinking of properly rating every employee and the things they do for your organization, a behavior scale is simply not enough. In essence, a scale will only show you if the person has the right skills to work at the given position or if they're growing in the right direction. However, if you do need an objective and unique measurement scale, BARS is a neat tool to trust. And to simplify things, if you need to put an actual number to the performance of your employees, teams, or participants without it being too basic, BARS will do the job. And on to the next question. What should you use BARS for? Well, most companies use behavior-anchored techniques because they function as a complete structure that links each position with the overall goals of the company. This means that you can use BARS for things like hiring, promoting, transitioning, demoting employees, and even doing performance management. In the hiring process is when BARS may be the most useful. This is simply because the applicants are trying to showcase themselves in the best light. On the other hand, the HR team should not do the BARS on a regular basis, and especially not when demoting or firing employees. Aside from recruiting, BARS can be used for development and training, performance management like we had mentioned, career pathing, succession management, and culture development too. And the great part about it is that BARS enforces more positive than negative changes. And if an employee was about to get fired because of weak performance, you don't really need BARS to do it. It would have happened anyway. So when deciding if you should implement BARS as part of your HR activities, it's a fairly easy decision. However, developing BARS for your staff is a whole different task to manage and not an easy one. And the truth is, developing a behaviorally anchored rating scale is often very time consuming. The reason is it requires a lot of research. And that means research into understanding the day-to-day of your different employees and the different jobs. And if you have lots of different positions in your company, well, that's a lot of research you have to do. And it may not be very cost effective. So make sure that you have your goal set for the organization of why you're looking to implement it. In practice, proper development implementation of bars in a larger company can take between 1 and almost 2 years. The first step to creating the rating scale is building a governance team, and then prepare and pick the expert teams. The first team should be working on developing the scales, while the second expert team should put all the company goals into practice. These teams will identify and retranslate employee behaviors and establish performance metrics. Scaling behaviors and incidents, retaining relevant behaviors, and finalizing the full picture are some of the last steps to take before you are done developing the final version of the behaviorally anchored rating scale. At this point, I've covered almost everything there is to know about bars. So let's go ahead and take a final look at the advantages and disadvantages that this method offers. And we'll start with the benefits of bars. Most important one is the validity of the system, given that it is created by a team of professionals, ideally, who already know their job quite well. The second most important advantage is that once this method is developed, it's quite easy to use, and there's no need to explain the process to managers or employees. They are already defined. And the fact that they are individualized, have clear standards, and are consistent only adds to the value. But like all things, the bars also come with some disadvantages. And as I've already mentioned, bars is not a cheap thing to implement. And it's not that simple to develop either. So make sure that the significant amount of investment aligns with your organizational goals and that you calculate it out properly. On top of everything, bars may require frequent updates depending on the task in question, as roles tend to change over time. And there we have it. In this video, we covered what are behaviorally anchored rating scales, and we learned how, why, and when to use them. If you enjoyed this video and you feel like you have a better understanding of the topic, then make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel so you can get regular updates from HR University about how to become a better HR professional and manager. And I'll go ahead and see you in some of our following videos. Cheers.